Started. Hi, everybody. My name is Ginny. I'm with Anderson's Bookshops, and we're really thrilled to be hosting these two great YA authors tonight and all of you on our virtual event as we've all pivoted into this brave new Zoom world we have now. Anderson's is a local independent bookstore that's actually been selling books for over 140 years. We're going on our sixth generation of the Anderson family actually running and owning and working the store. So we're very proud of our legacy. We're very proud to have been partnered with so many great authors over the years and to help everybody find their next great read, whether that be an author that they've been in love with for a long time or help them discover something brand new. So I know maybe there's some of both here, although I think lots of you are mega fans of Adrienne and Shelby. But thanks for taking the time to be with us. I know there's a lot of screens right now, and we appreciate your participation and your support of our store. Normally, if these were regular times, we would be doing over 400 in-person events a year at our multiple locations. But of course, that's a little bit different this year. And your support here means that we can continue to do things and keep our doors open so that we can still be here when this is all over. Because we have been around for so long, actually, we've already survived a global pandemic of the Spanish flu of 1918. So we feel very confident that we're going to get through this too, but it's thanks to support from you as fans and from our great author partners. So we thank you, everybody, for all of that. Tonight, we have some awesome, exciting YA-ness to discuss and two very hot new titles. Two New York Times bestselling authors, Adrienne Young and Shelby Mahurin. Welcome, ladies. Thanks so much for being here. Of course, Fable is the new book for Adrienne. It's your third book, but a new one in a brand new series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And Shelby, of course, Blood and Honey is the sequel to Serpent and Dove, which I know everybody has been anxiously awaiting. Many of you called us looking for copies of this book. So I'm really glad that we can have you both here. Welcome. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So do you guys each want to kind of talk a little bit about your own books? And then I know we've got some fun things planned for after that.
Sure. Do you want to go first, Adrienne?
Sure. So Fable, like she just said, is my third book. This is her. It's a first in a new duology. And Fable is a story about a girl who was left on an island 4 years ago by her father, and her journey in trying to get off the island, find him, but things do not go as planned, and she is forced to kind of join up with a mysterious young trading crew that sails their world, which is called the Narrows, and things get very complicated.
Yes, they do.
That's all I can really say.
Yes. Okay. I have a couple. Let me get mine. I came prepared, obviously. Nope, never mind. Okay. It's in my bedroom. So, Blood and Honey is the second book in the Serpent and Dove series, which will be a trilogy. I've gotten that question a few times. It's a trilogy. So it's the middle book, and it basically picks up right after Serpent and Dove, and it follows Lou and Reed and Coco and Ansel and Beau and Madame LaBelle as they navigate the Forest of Eyes and sort of scheme on how to defeat Morgan, right? And the whole time she is playing this sort of cat and mouse game with them and leaving them notes and antagonizing them. So that's the external plot, but there's a lot of internal plot going on too, like emotional arcs between Lou and Reed, and them sort of navigating their relationship.
They're a very complicated relationship.
They're very complicated relationship. Yes.
I love them. I recognize so many people's names on here from like Instagram and stuff. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. So we thought it would be fun. We're gonna do a couple of fun things before we actually do our discussion. And the first one is we thought it would be fun to do a mashup and couple our characters. So we're going to talk about what kind of couple would West and Fable be, and West and Lou be, and what kind of couple would Reed and Fable be. So I think these are hilarious because the funniest one to me is the idea of West and Lou. We can talk about them first. But the reason I think this is hilarious is because West would be so done with her. Like,
He would not like Liv very much. I don't think he would like her.
he would not be amused by her at all. And I feel like he would have no patience for her. He'd be annoyed constantly. And she would know that, and she would love it. And she would just like pick at him. And I don't know. What do you think she would do if she was in a relationship with him?
Oh my God, she would have the most fun. Like, especially West kind of like holds Fable at arm's length in the book. And Lou would absolutely not allow it. She'd be like, oh, you don't want me here? Here I am. She'd be showing up at like every opportunity, like poking him as she walks by. Like,
And now I'm sitting in your lap. And
exactly.
now I'm petting you.
Yes, exactly. That hair, that gray hair.
Yeah, they would be a hot mess. Like a really, really hot mess. And I can't even imagine them too as like if they procreated.
Oh my God.
If they were parents, that would be even worse.
Yeah. I really feel like they're opposites. So, I mean, really West and Reed have a lot in common, I feel like, as personality type. So,
yeah. Especially being like reserved and all of that.
yeah.
But they are so different too. So I feel like a lot of the like softness, internal softness that Reed has, like West has that too, but I don't think it's nearly as accessible as Reed. And so I could just imagine her, like Lou trying to scoop out his gooey center, and just she keeps hitting a rock.
I agree.
Okay, and then Reed
and Fable.
Fable, what do you think about them?
They would be so grim together, like all the time, because they're both so serious. There would be no smiling ever.
No smiling.
None. It would not be allowed. But I do feel like they do both have like sort of a soft center.
Yeah.
So they might be able to form like an emotional connection to each other, but it would be hard for them to like take their walls down.
Yeah. Well, and they both like want family. They want like to belong, and they like fiercely love the people that they love, and they're loyal and all of that. So I think in that sense they would be like very committed.
Yes.
But I think like people might not even know they're together. Oh.
Did I lock up, Adrienne?
Only for a second.
Okay, I missed what you said. It says your internet connection is unstable. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. I don't remember what I was saying. I was just saying, like, I think that I was saying, I also think they're the kind of couple that, like, people wouldn't even know they're together.
Oh, for sure. It would be like roommate situation.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Okay, so do you want to talk about the little game we're going to do?
Yes. Okay, so have you guys heard of, like, the shoe game during wedding receptions where the DJ asks a question like, who is the worst driver, who's the best driver or whatever, and they lift up a shoe if they think it's them? We have a similar setup. We have signs. So Jenny is going to ask us general questions, and we are going to answer. We have 2 different rounds. The first is going to be Reed and West, and the second is Lou and Fable. So just like quick little rounds before we get into like our in conversation.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Is everybody ready? You're going to have to vote on your own, our attendees too, but.
Oh yeah. Put in the comments what you think.
Yes. Because the comments are already going insane. So let's add some more, shall we? Okay. West and Reed. Who has the best hair?
For sure.
We've got consensus. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, West. I saw Adrienne sent her inspiration for West, like her character inspiration, and he has this like beautiful blonde hair that's like kind of longer, and so definitely.
And you just want to like touch it all the time. Yep. I don't even know how many times I had to delete in that manuscript the description of his hair. My copy editor was like, I think they got it. Like, you don't have to keep describing the color and the texture of his hair and what it does when the wind blows it.
That's an aesthetic though. Like him on the ship with his hair blowing back in the wind. I think you should have left it all. I would have been fine with it.
His hair is a mood for sure.
Yes, that's fantastic. Several people say you should have left the hair descriptions in, Adrienne. So
You guys are here. You're here for the hair description.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so we ready for another one then?
Yes.
Who is the most dramatic?
Did you say Reed?
Yes, you both said Reed. Oh, and that everybody for sure. Yes.
Oh my God, diva.
This chat is cracking me up because they're just flying in, all of them.
Like,
Who has listened to the audiobook of Serpent and Dove? I have not heard the audiobook yet for Blood and Honey, but it's the same people.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the best audiobooks best YA audiobooks I've ever read or listened to. Those actors did such an amazing job, but I feel like they captured. Have you listened to it, Shelby?
I've listened to parts of it. It's so weird for me to like sit and listen to it because it's another person's interpretation almost of your story and character. So it was really cool, but also I was just like, I feel so weird right now listening to this. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, it's strange to hear someone's like interpretation of your character's voice.
Yeah.
But I feel like they did such a great job. But one of my favorite things about it is like the internal monologue of Reed.
Yes.
Like hilarious. Like he is so earnest and just so committed to his thoughts and his feelings. And he just talks like this when he's like thinking about Lou, you know?
He's so in his own head. So yeah, he's definitely the most dramatic.
And he's everything to like the 100th power. Everything's like on principle. I love him.
Well, it's good to have consensus, certainly. You guys are talking about audiobooks. I just threw this in the chat too, but I don't know if you guys have heard of Libro.fm, which is a great place for audiobooks. You can actually support bookstores by purchasing through there, which is super awesome. So yay for Libro. We'll give them a little shout out. We love them. Okay, we've got another one then. Who, between West and Reed, who is the funniest?
I was going to say West.
Oh,
I feel like neither of them are just like funny.
Neither of them are funny, but I choose Reed because I feel like people are laughing at him all the time.
That's true. That's a good point.
Like he's being 100% serious. But like I feel like people are kind of always giggling, especially Lou. She finds him so hilarious, you know. So I don't think he's intentionally funny, but
yeah, that's what the comments are saying, that Reed is unintentionally the funniest.
We're laughing at him, not with him.
Yes, but Shelby, make your case. You've got the other choice.
Reed is so serious, but I didn't think about it like Adrienne did. Like it's funny, like even though he doesn't mean to be, he's funny.
I think West's funniness is really in his meanness.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, I think him being mean can be a little funny sometimes, but.
Did I see that Kristen wanted West to shove Fable like off of the ship at one point?
Yes, this is like the heartbreak of her writing career, is that I had this idea for a scene where West pushes Fable overboard and they have to like leave her. And I mean, it was going to be like they're doing it to like save her somehow. I don't know what was going to happen in the scene. Clearly I didn't have a plan because it didn't end up in the book. And Kristen is still heartbroken about it because she loves mean boys and like bad boys and whatever. So she's like, this is going to be so great. He's going to push her off the ship. It's going to be amazing. And then it never happened. And she still bugs me about it. Like often she brings it up. It's like a great injustice.
I see a lot of people saying that they want that bonus content. So
yeah, maybe I'll just have to create a different scenario in which he just really, really needs to push her off the ship. So funny.
I'm just envisioning now people just like shoving that, yes, and everyone like cheering, you know, as we read it. That's
love you. Bye. Like,
yeah.
Right into the ocean.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. Flo, we do all have someone we'd like to push overboard the ship. That is for sure. Okay. So we did the funniest, but who is the most serious?
Oh.
This is so hard because I feel like they're both really serious. I'm gonna go with West again.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick West too, even though I'm not totally sure why, because they're both very serious.
Well, Reed has moments like in Serpent and Dove where he like does try to crack a joke. You know what I mean? West doesn't really have those moments.
No.
A joke? What? No. So
No, I honestly think that in Fable he smiles once.
I think that does Fable smile at all?
Not much. You know, people in this world aren't very happy. There's not a lot of great things happening for anyone. So I feel like nobody's really happy. But there's like a moment where West smiles and Fable's like taken back by it. Like, what is that? What is that happening on his face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any other West versus Reed statements that need to be made before we move on to the next ones?
Nope.
All right. Okay. Let's move on then to Fable and Lou. Who is the best secret keeper? Got agreement there?
Yeah.
Oh, from you guys. Oh, we got kind of divisive though in the other ones in the
Mhm.
comments though.
I think it's Fable. I mean, Lou can keep a secret, obviously she has, but like, does she want to? Different story.
But yeah, I feel like she would only really keep a secret if it benefited her.
Yeah, exactly.
And Fable, like
Like
because of the world and the Narrows and everything and the way the culture is and the way things work, like keeping secrets is like a part of survival, you know? And everybody in the book has secrets that they're keeping, even from the people they're very close to. So I feel like Lou's like, sure, I'll keep that secret until
in my back pocket for now.
Yeah, exactly. Like until I need to whip it out and like use it against you. Sure.
Yep.
She's a smart girl.
Yes. Oh, somebody says Fable gathers secrets like treasure, which is a great
She
great
does.
line. Yeah, love it.
She really does.
All right. Who can hold their liquor better?
Oh, Lou, for sure.
Yeah, I think.
There goes the chat again. Oh, that's funny.
Because she probably drinks more liquor than Fable does, right?
Yeah. Lou could probably drink us all under the table.
Not you, Adrienne. I don't think she could drink you under the table.
I don't know.
I've seen it. I do know.
Somebody wrote, Lou would tell your secrets in the form of a pub song, which I think is a fantastic combination of those two questions, right?
That is true. It's so true. Yeah.
All right.
Fable, like, you know, she can take a shot of rye or whatever, but like she's not like well versed in she does drink herself under the table for once in Fable, in like the actual book. So
Lou would have fun with Fable, I think, if they went to a pub together. Like, let's
oh
go.
yeah.
Let's have one more. You can do one more. Let's go.
Lou would show her a good time.
Yes. They
Yeah.
have fun together.
So I'm envisioning, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway, where they do the Irish drinking song.
Yes.
That's what I'm picturing right now. It's 4 YA characters doing the Irish drinking song.
So true.
Fantastic. Okay. Who has to have the final word between
Oh,
Fable and Lou?
I think Lou.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Fable can kind of like exit gracefully. I don't think that Lou can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fable can bite her tongue.
Mhm.
Lou is like, I'm gonna eviscerate you.
Even if it hurts me, I'm
Yeah.
still gonna go at you.
Ooh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, even to her own detriment. As
Yeah.
long as she has like won or like ends with the upper hand, which is her own survival, you know, instincts kicking in. But yeah, definitely Lou.
So I feel like this game is a way for you guys to like be coming up with content for the next books, by the way, because you're like, oh, you know what? She would do that way, wouldn't she? So everybody just needs to watch in these next book. Your ideas may be coming to light here. Okay, so I think the last one we have for Fable and Lou is who cries during movies? Fable.
We're the same. Yeah.
Sweet Fable.
Does.
She's tough.
center.
Yeah, she's a tough cookie, but like, girlfriend is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
She really is.
Well, for good reason. Like, her life has just been just like terrible.
Yeah, so true. I feel like Lou is a lot more, she has a lot more armor, I think, than Fable does. Like, Fable has adapted to like survive in her world, but I feel like Lou's like an expert at survival, and which is another reason why I really love her character. But she would not be crying in movies.
No, I don't think so. I think that she would be really laughing at unless it was Fable. I think that if it was her friend crying, she'd be like, it's okay. But if it was Reed, she would just have a field day.
Oh yeah.
But
and then she would like taunt him about it forevermore.
He would never live it down.
Yeah.
All right. Those are really fun, guys. Oh, yes. Somebody said, I wonder what Enneagram numbers they would be. That's a great question. I've just been talking about Enneagrams with people in the last like couple of weeks. Those are fascinating.
I love Enneagram. It's like my favorite thing.
Yes. What's your number?
I am a 5, wing 6.
Okay. Adrienne, do you know yours?
Yeah, I'm a 4, and I used to think I was a 4 wing 3, but I feel like the more I learn about Enneagram, the more I think I'm a 4 wing 5. Like, I have some 3 tendencies, like the whole achiever thing, and just like I like to like set goals and dream big and go after things and whatever. But I think my wing really is 5.
Welcome to the dark side.
All right.
I just saw it. Sorry, this is going to be a tangent. I just saw a post about, have you guys heard of the soul child theory with Enneagram?
Oh.
It's like what your true Enneagram type was, like as a child before like outside stressors have pushed you to your permanent Enneagram.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really interesting because a 5's soul child is supposed to be an 8, which is
So
like
I'm
really
an 8.
assertive. Yeah, like
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it's really interesting.
So a 5 is like a super repressed 8.
Yeah, I guess.
In theory.
Yeah, in theory. Mm-hmm.
I wonder what the 4's is. I'm going to Google that after we get done.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Yes, everybody is now like, oh my gosh, Enneagrams. I got to go look it up.
Someone said Shelby's going on a deep dive with the Enneagram. Yes, I'm a 5. That's what I do.
Right. Yes. Very much in character. Way to stay on brand. Good job, Shelby. I'm glad you guys are all doing quizzes, fans as well right now, but you know, you want to like focus on the Enneagram thing. So maybe don't do 2 things at once. I mean, unless that's your kind of thing and you can super multitask, but I forget which number that is, but it's not me. So, okay, fantastic. Well, do you guys, do you have other little,
Yes, I have some questions for Shelby,
Okay.
and I think she has a couple for me.
Ew.
And I'll start off with a really like generic one.
Okay.
But I know a lot of people are probably wondering this, and you'll get asked it a million times. But how was it writing book 2 after your experience of book 1?
Okay, so I will be completely honest. Writing the second book was so much harder than writing the first book. And I think that this is a lot of authors' experience with their sophomore novels. I made the mistake. I did not finish Blood and Honey before Serpent and Dove published. So I was drafting it, or rewriting it, because I had to rewrite it, as reviews for Serpent and Dove were like coming in. And I don't go seek out reviews, but you still see them. People tag you in them and things. So like, I felt this huge like pressure. I felt like there was an axe over my head as I was writing Blood and Honey, just because it's hard, because even like, okay, you get tagged in a bad review and you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like, what if everything I write is garbage, you know? And the second book is harder to write anyway. And so you're just like, maybe I can't do it. And then, you know, you get tagged in a positive review of somebody who loves it and you're like, yay, they love it. But like, oh my God, I hope I don't let them down in the second book or like disappoint them. So I had a lot of outside voices in my head when I was writing Blood and Honey, which is probably why I had to rewrite Blood and Honey. So it was a lot different because with Serpent and Dove, I wrote that kind of in a bubble. I wasn't agented. I wasn't I was just writing it like on Wattpad for myself, a very like fun, cathartic thing. And Blood and Honey was like, okay, you have a deadline, you have people waiting for this story. So it was a lot harder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that the transition to even having so many professional voices in your creative process, there's a learning curve there. And I mean, that I had a very similar experience with The Girl the Sea Gave Back, where I felt so much pressure that, like, about my readers, about like making sure my readers didn't feel let down, and making sure my publisher didn't feel like my first book was a fluke. And you know, writers have that fear all the time. But there's just so many, the dynamic really changes when you get published, because you go from like just being a lone aspiring author who's like writing in your pajamas in bed at 2 a.m. all by yourself, and you get to make all the decisions and everything is like very protected in your mind, to then not only like opening up your work to an editor, an agent, sometimes other people who have input, like sales teams or whatever, like a lot of people have input that you wouldn't think would, and like managing all those voices. But then the biggest thing is that your work is out to readers, it's out to the world, you know, and people have opinions, and all of that can make you second guess yourself. So it's sophomore novel. They call it the book 2 curse, which I'm sure at least some of you have heard authors talk about this. But the great thing, Shelby, is that it's done now.
Yes, I know. That's what, and writing book 3 has been so much easier, which has surprised me, because, you know, you come off of the second book and you're like, this was so hard. Like, is it how it's going to be from now on? And you assured me it wasn't, but like, it's different to just hear people be like, no, it will get better. And then to actually have it get better yourself. So I'm having a great time writing book 3, and it's coming a lot easier. So truly, it's like a second book curse.
Yep, no one escapes it. I thought I would escape it. I was very wrong.
I know, me too, right? Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So it probably doesn't surprise you that character is my favorite part of writing and reading. Like, I just love character-driven everything. So I've heard you say that with Fable, your first like spark was Fable standing on the beach, watching the boat sail away. You knew that her father was on it and that he wasn't coming back. So Fable was your, so she like popped in your head first. Did she come fully fleshed? Did she come as herself, or
No.
she did not? Okay, so how did you develop Fable? And then secondary question, how did you develop him like opposite her? Want a certain dynamic between them? Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, Fable was not developed when this idea first came to me. I really had to discover her, and I didn't know, like, I knew she was on this island, but I didn't know what this island was. I didn't really know why she was there. Like, why did her father leave her there? That was like one of my first big questions, was like, what would warrant a father to leave his daughter on this desolate island, and like what could justify that in a way that doesn't then like instantly just create an eternal villain, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like that really led me into thinking about who Fable was and what kind of person could survive on this island, you know? And I knew she wasn't going to be as scrappy as Elin, but I feel like I kind of had to follow her around a little bit in my head and like observe her. And then also when the dredging part came into play and I really started exploring this whole like underwater side of things and her being a free diver and all of that, I feel like that's when she really started taking shape to me, and just like her energy and like her essence.
Well, there's like a resiliency that you have to be a dredger and like on this island. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and she's like super committed to like her goal, which is to scrape together enough coin to get off this island. And she's had to be a strategist, and she's had to be super smart, and she has made like a lot of mistakes, and risked a lot of things. So I feel like once I really understood what she was doing on the island, that told me a lot about her. And then West, I feel like West came to me much more instantly, like his personality and everything. I feel like as soon as I really started seeing him in a scene, he was more intuitive, I think, for me. But I was gonna ask you about characters too. That's literally my third question on my list. You are so good at characterization.
Oh, thank you.
You guys agree with me? I know you will. That, I think, is one of the reasons why people have resonated so much with the series, because the characters really jump off the page. And it's like not in a super like this like forced way where you're just like, I'm gonna make them larger than life. Like they still feel like people you could actually know. And I feel like it was such an interesting choice to make Reed so zealous, like in his pursuit. Like I love that he's not some like jaded foot soldier of some cause. He like 100% believes in what he's doing. And I feel like that was so interesting, especially because pretty early on, like you're shipping these two, but you can't imagine a world in which they're going to find like a bridge to each other. So anyway, I just wonder if you could talk a little bit about I know it's more like broad, but like about how you develop characters.
So Lou kind of did spring into my head fully formed. Like her voice did, at least. Her backstory and stuff came to me as I wrote because I did not plot out Serpent and Dove at all. So I discovered her like sort of trauma as I went, but her voice, like the irreverent voice, came right away. And the sort of like, I'm gonna poke at you and pick at you, and I'm gonna sing about Big Titty Liddy because it makes you uncomfortable, and I'm just really gonna needle you, and I'm gonna think that I'm hilarious while I'm doing it. That all came kind of right away. And Reed, I knew that I wanted to write like an opposites attract sort of chemistry. So Reed really developed as her like, how do you say it, antithesis. He's like her foil. He's her complete opposite. So Lou is kind of jaded. So I knew that I didn't want Reed to be. Reed is like the eager beaver. He's the really any word that you could describe Lou as, I wanted Reed to be the opposite. So that they kind of developed together. Their personalities did. Like one went this way and one went this way. But as far as like the backstory and stuff, that all came later. And that also informed their personalities, you know, because at first I feel like when you open a book, you get a very sort of not superficial, but a two-dimensional look at a character. That's how you have to introduce them to a reader, because you can't just throw everything about the character at the reader in the beginning, right? You have to give them like one or two traits to be like, okay, this is who this character is. And then it's kind of like Shrek. You like peel back the onion layers or whatever. Yeah. So it worked out to sort of figure out their trauma later, because that's the deeper stuff that informs their personality. Like Lou is secretive. She would keep another person's secret, but she keeps her own, you know, and Reed is eager and earnest to serve the church because he thinks that they saved him, you know, he's an orphan, like they've given him everything. And so he has this like intense loyalty to them, even though they're wrong. Like, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I went about forming them.
Yeah. I love how unapologetic Lou is. Like she's so like in your face. She's never trying to be ladylike, you know, like
everyone knows who she is.
I love her.
Like there's more self-discovery in Blood and Honey than there was in Serpent and Dove. I feel like Reed had the most growth in Serpent and Dove, and Lou has the most in Blood and Honey. Anyway. Okay, so I have another kind of like character question. Specifically romance. So in Sky in the Deep, you did the enemies to lovers trope, which we clearly both love. I wrote Lou and Reed, you wrote Elin and Fisk.
Mhm.
But Fable and West are not enemies to start out. So can you talk a little bit about how you developed their romance without having that, like, because it's still so compelling, but you don't have that, like, I hate you tension that
Mhm.
that's inherent to an enemies to lovers relationship. Yet I just felt like they loved each other so much.
Mhm.
Like, did you have an idea of what their romance would look like when you started out?
Yeah, I did. I knew I did not plot this book either, really. I'm much more of a discovery writer, and so I didn't know what was going to be behind their connection, and I won't spoil it because you find out secrets later that kind of make things click into place, and you kind of get a different perspective on their role in each other's world, basically. And so I didn't know what those things were, but I knew they existed. So I kind of felt like as I was writing it, I was curious about that too. And I feel like they are kind of like revolving magnets. Like they're drawn to each other, but they're also really trying to stay away from each other.
This is what makes it so compelling, right?
Yeah, and I think that the device between them, because I think Shelby, and I think you and I might have talked about this before. Maybe I was talking to you. I don't know. But a reader or an interview or something asked me, what romance trope is it? And I was like, well, I mean, it's a slow burn, but it's not enemies to lovers. It's not friends to lovers. And so I like polled Shelby and like 2 other authors, and I'm like, what would you say this is? And everyone's like, just call it a slow burn. Yeah. But yeah, I think the device between these 2 is really the world and the rules of the world and how they keep people apart. And so, yeah. And so I feel like once they really start learning more about each other's pasts and secrets, that is really kind of like gives them permission to stop resisting that pull that's been there for a long time.
Well, and you said it earlier, in the world of Fable, you have to keep secrets to survive. So that would pose a problem for 2 people like falling in love, keeping secrets from each other.
Right.
Which Blood and Honey too. Secret keeping.
Well, I was going to say that my third question for you was going to be, because Lou and Reed evolve a lot, like you said, and the story evolves, side characters evolve in Blood and Honey. Did anybody evolve in a way, I know you can't be super specific because of spoilers, but like, did anyone evolve in a way that totally shocked you?
Lou did. So initially when I set out to write Blood and Honey, I thought that Reed was going to spiral. But as I was writing it, it became very clear that Reed was not the one spiraling. It was Lou. Not to spoil too much, but that's like in the blurb. She starts making some questionable decisions. So that really surprised me because I did not plan for it to go that way. And then as I was writing, it was just like, oh my God, this is not what's happening. So it's almost like it took me until like the end of the second act, the beginning of the third, to realize that was what was happening. So during rewrites, that helped. You know how they say, like, when you're writing the first draft, you're telling the story to yourself? That was absolutely the case with Blood and Honey.
And you're like, oh,
that's what was happening.
Okay.
Yes. So it's 8:42. Do we want to open up?
Yeah, let's do live Q&A. I would love that.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. All right. So I've been writing things, copying them out as we go. But if you guys have other questions as we're going, please go ahead and throw them in the chat. But first of all, Lindsay asked, who are your writing influences and favorite authors?
I have so many. I feel like in YA, the first really big inspiration for me was Laini Taylor, where I loved reading and I loved like reading YA before that, but I feel I really connected with her writing in Daughter of Smoke and Bone. If you guys have not read that series, It's like you have to read it YA series. It's so good. But she's such a gifted writer, too, with voice and description and everything. So definitely her. But I feel like I have a lot of, there's so many within YA, within adult, within middle grade, poets. Mary Oliver is a huge influence on me. I love her so much. I read from her books like multiple times a week, probably. Just pick them up and thumb through them. So I feel like I pull different things from a lot of different places.
That is what I was going to say too. I have so many different influences or like inspirations. So I feel like I have a very commercial voice in my writing, and that probably came from reading Leigh Bardugo and Sarah J. Maas. I love their books, and their books made me want to write. But then those influences have kind of changed in the past year and a half since I've been in the industry, because I've realized that I love the commercial voice, but there is so much to be said for a literary voice too. And for these like big sweeping worlds and those sort of things. So Madeline Miller has become a huge, I just love her work so much. You know,
and romance and her
and Adrienne, you write such beautiful worlds. You did influence me a lot in Blood and Honey. I was like, look,
Aww.
Adrienne can write these worlds. You can write a world. Like, you could do it. So, yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
All right, they're coming in fast and furious, guys, so forgive me while I'm trying to find, get them all in here. You should know that people want you to collaborate for a novella of the switched couples and release it as a special bonus content for pre-orders. So I'm just putting that out there.
You guys have a whole plan.
I will add that if you wanted to do like a special edition just for Independent Bookstore Day next April, Indies would be all over that because that's my job and I have to say that. Okay. Well, Maggie really wants to know if, please, for the love, can we get the second 2 verses of Big Titty Lady before the series is over? Thank you.
You will get the second verse in the second book, and you will get the third verse in the third book.
Yay. All right. What character of yours do you relate to most?
I feel like the answer to this always sounds like a cop-out, but it's my real answer. I feel like I really do see myself in all of my characters. If I had to pick one, I would probably pick Elin. But I feel like even my villains, my side characters, everybody, like, I write myself in my characters, like, across the board.
Mine's kind of a cop-out too. But especially Lou and Reed. I feel like if Lou and Reed had a kid, it would be me. Like, I'm their love child. I have Lou's sort of like irreverent, raunchy, like 14-year-old boy sense of humor. I find that stuff funny. And then Reed, like his just sort of earnestness. I am earnest, I feel like. And I'm very protective of the people I love and such. So yeah, I have sprinkled little bits of me into both of those characters.
Okay. If my mom could stop trying to FaceTime me in the middle of while I'm working, that would be great. Apologize, everybody. And I don't know if we talked about this. Shelby, what was the inspiration for the pub song?
Everybody asks that. Okay, I'm so okay. How do I answer this without? Hopefully nobody from my hometown is watching. Okay, so I'll just tell the story. My spouse, when he was like a middle school boy, he and his friends ran around with, they had a friend whose mother's name is Lydia, and they thought it was just hilarious to call her Big Titty Liddy, to give this friend just a really hard time. And he had told me this story, and I thought it was funny, which is terrible. I'm so sorry.
So you decided to immortalize.
So no, here's the thing. I was writing the story on Wattpad, and I just like wrote a little ditty about it, and I was like, this is just going to go in the story. And RJ said, you absolutely cannot put that in your book. And I said, RJ, nobody's ever going to read this. That's what I said to him. And he was like, okay.
Words.
Yeah, and so I put it in, and then I got an agent and my agent didn't ask me to take it out, and we sold to Harper Teen and my editor didn't ask me to take it out, and suddenly it's in this published book and I'm like, it's in this published book. Yeah. So there we go. That's the story of Big Titty Liddy.
Well, the chat is blowing up about that. So tea has been spilled. Yes, for sure. Oh, that's a great story though. Okay, so a couple of people have asked, both of you, what advice you would give for an aspiring YA author. That world and networking with authors can be kind of intimidating that way. So if you could give some advice, what would it be?
Yeah, Adrienne, if you could give some advice, what would it be?
Advice about like my advice to an aspiring author?
Yes.
My biggest piece of advice that I give all the time is don't write to trends. Because if you try to write to trends, what a lot of people who are first starting out don't understand is that publishing works very, very slowly. So what's on the shelf was actually bought by a publisher 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So what we see as the trend is actually a lag in what the publisher was buying a couple years ago. And then so people start trying to jump into a trend. They're like, this is really hot right now. And I'm going to write demons, like when the demons were big. And then you go to a workshop. This is what was my experience. I wasn't writing demons, but like I would go to a workshop and everyone there would be writing vampires or demons or werewolves, like at that time. And then all the agents and publishers who were at these workshops or festivals or whatever would be like, if we see another demon book, we're going to set our computers on fire. And then everybody in the audience is like weeping. Like, I just dedicated the last 2 years of my life to my demon book. So don't write to trends. The thing I always tell people is like, write the book that only you can write. Like the thing, even if it's weird, even if there's nothing else out there like it, if it's something you want to write and you're thinking about it all the time, you can't wait to get back to the manuscript, you're like trying to finish your dinner early and get your kids in bed early so that you can like go work, that is the story that you should be writing.
And that also reflects itself in your story. Like readers will see that, agents will see it, editors will see it, they will see that you loved it. And that it's so much better to read a story that an author loved. I feel like you can tell when they just wrote it and their heart wasn't in it, you know? It's not as good.
On the book selling side, I can tell you both that it absolutely comes through. Passion will show through no matter what you work on. But readers can tell when it comes through which are the books where they were contractually obligated to do, yeah. Which are the books that are passion projects for sure. Okay. Maggie asked, what do you want your legacy to be? Which I think is a really good question.
Oh, Lord.
That's deep.
Well, we did Enneagrams, so, we got to jump right into legacy now.
True. I don't know if I've thought about leaving a legacy. That is so like grand, like sweeping scale. Unapologetic heroines is probably what I would want my legacy to be. Mm-hmm. We mentioned that Lou is unapologetic, and I think it's a good thing to have that representation in fiction.
Mm-hmm. If I was going to leave a legacy, I think I would want it to be like just really writing your soul into your story, like not being afraid to insert or like find cross sections, like with your own experience, your own pain, your own everything. Like I feel like people will say this all the time, was it so hard to read or write something that's so personal to you? And recently I did an AMA and somebody asked that, and I was thinking about it and I was like, I always do that. And I didn't realize, I wasn't like super conscious of it, but I always do that. And then I was like, man, I hope I always do that. So we'll see. I would love for that to be true for my whole career.
Awesome. Well, and taking a spin off of that too and talking about representation, Christina had a really good question. You both write feminist, sex-positive love stories, and I love them. What are your influences for being bold with this aspect of your stories?
I could talk probably for an hour about it. but I won't. I will just leave you with the thought just to think about. Out of everything in Serpent and Dove, I've gotten the most backlash about there being sex on the page. Just today, someone commented on a post like, why is it okay for you to write explicit sex for teens? And I was like, let me tell you why. Teenagers have sex. Not all of them do, of course. It's a personal choice for everyone. But why is it okay for explicit violence to be on the page in YA? Why is it okay for people to scoop each other's eyeballs out and stab each other and these things that teens don't actually do, but consensual sex isn't? Why is that our culture? It doesn't make any sense to me. So that was kind of like my stand on why I have it in my book, because I was like, this is a reality for so many teenagers. Why not reflect that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I too could talk about this. I could do an entire event just talking about this. I'm very passionate about this subject. And if you have followed me on my Instagram, you've probably heard me talk about my crusade against the term clean books.
And pure, sorry, continue.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Like, I just answered this question yesterday from a reader on Goodreads. Is this book clean? Is there more than kissing? And I'm like, people are super cool, like you said, with Elin, like, straight up, like, knifing people in the gut. But then she takes her shirt off and is hanging out with Fisk, and there's, like, a fade to black, and people are like, I can't believe that. Like, ban the book or whatever. So I really, like, in the conclusion, the short version of my feelings about that is that I grew up in a heavily, like, purity culture society, and it had a very, very negative impact on me as a young person, as a woman. It had a majorly negative impact on my own, like, sexuality and, like, sex life, like, when I did start having sex. And so I feel like I just really never want to shy away from the desire that women feel, you know, the sexual desire specifically.
I second that, Adrienne. All of that.
We should just do a panel of just us.
That's what people are asking for right now. So we'll have that in the back of your minds. I think summing it up, Nikita says, ladies, y'all are the women of my soul. So I think you've got some agreement there. So that's fantastic. We will sign up for this TED Talk. Yes. Okay, so this is a really interesting question from Sarah. Have you noticed a change in your relationship with reading since you've started steadily writing published books?
Yes. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Adrienne, you can go first.
I mean, really, the biggest thing is that I just do not have time to read the way that I used to. I have switched to doing a lot of audiobooks because it's something I can do while I'm doing something else. So I really have to prioritize my writing time, but if I sacrifice the reading, my writing suffers big time. So it's this really hard balance of, like, making sure you have enough input, like, of that input of books in order to serve the output, but there's just not a lot of time. And so I feel like that's the hardest part. And when I am reading, a lot of times it's for work. Like, my publisher asked me to blurb something, and so I'm considering blurbing something, and I have to read it by this date, even though I really want to read this thing at the top of my TBR. And then once I finish the thing I'm blurbing, I'm on deadline. You know, it's just like a whole thing.
Yeah, I can't really add to it because everything you said was the same. Yeah. You only have, like, a finite amount of time in the day, right? And you have a deadline and you have words that you have to get down. So it's like, when do I find time to read? But then, like you said, your work really does suffer when you don't read. Like, for sure. I can tell anytime I'm blocked or I'm feeling, like, uninspired or just really apathetic, I'm like, when is the last time that I've read a book? And it's usually always way too long. And as soon as I start reading a book, it's like the creative juices start flowing again.
Totally agree.
Absolutely. Nikita asked, who is, in your opinion, one of the best written villains of all time? I think that's great.
My favorite ever, actually, I'm like, this is probably not gonna be a popular answer, but just craft speaking, Snape is one of my favorite villains ever. And obviously, well, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. He's not what he seems, but I don't remember ever before that or since reading the Harry Potter series ever having the same kind of emotional attachment to finding out, like trying to understand like a villain and like all the little clues and whatever. I love him as far as books go. There's a lot that I do love.
I feel like he's a very interesting villain, for sure. He is a three-dimensional villain. He is not like the mustache twirling, like 2D. Yeah. Kind of like Voldemort. He's kind of a two-dimensional villain, right? I mean, we get more of his backstory in the 7th book, and we start fleshing him out. But Snape is super. He's like a person, you know. But I think it's interesting that you called him a villain instead of like an anti-hero. You know what I mean? Because I think that he is a villain. I mean, he does terrible things.
Unforgivable things.
Yes, exactly. Like when he makes Neville cry. You know what I mean? He does like.
Even like when he was a Death Eater. You know, like you can't really come back from that, right?
No, exactly. So I think as a villain, he is super interesting, but it does bother me when people are like, "Oh no, he's like a good guy." And I'm like, he's really not a good guy.
I love it when villains have like a totally different side, you know, and they're not just bad because they just want to be bad and they like bad things.
Exactly. And I mean, his love for Lily really, really makes him right? Because people are capable of both good and bad. And Snape clearly has that going on.
Which is also one of the quintessential lessons of writing for young people, whether it be middle grade readers or YA, right? People are capable of good and evil, and people are multi-layered and complicated, and the best books show that for sure. So I want to switch a little bit. I know we're kind of wrapping up a little bit, but Evie asked, what have you done for yourselves to have something to look forward to during these tough times, during the pandemic? And I think that's a really thoughtful question.
Do you have one, Shelby?
I specifically with writing, I have scenes that I've been looking forward to writing because I feel like all I'm doing right now is writing because I'm on deadline. So I have like the little, what is Susan dinner called? The magical cookie things in your scenes. So I have those that I write towards. I actually have one right now that I'm writing towards. I'm really excited about. But just like life-wise is harder because we are in the middle of a pandemic. It's like, what are we looking forward to, Adrienne?
Well, I was going to say mine is I had a research/writing trip to Scotland booked before the pandemic. I was supposed to go in May for a couple weeks with a really good friend of mine, Rachel Griffin, who has, her book comes out in 21. It's called The Nature of Witches. You guys should totally pre-order it. Anyway, she and I had a trip booked to Scotland that we had to cancel. And I feel like that is like the carrot that I'm like dangling before myself, like that when the pandemic is over, it's like the thing that always comes to my mind. Like, I am going back to Scotland with Rachel and I'm going to do my research and I'm going to like, you know, whatever. And it's like my light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
I'm moving too. That's something in my personal life that I'm really looking forward to. I'm moving to a bigger house.
To a haunted house.
We don't know that it's haunted, okay?
It's for sure haunted. Wait till you guys see pictures of the inside of this house.
It's not haunted.
You're going to have to do like a whole like tour, and then everyone in the chat is going to be messaging you like, oh, that's for sure haunted.
So if we see ghost themes showing up in book 3, we know where they came from. My house. Fantastic. So we've actually been thinking about things to look forward to at Anderson's as well. We actually have a whole display of big books coming out this fall, of things to look forward to in the book world. Some really cool things coming up. So everybody needs to have something to look forward to. We've got to get through this together, right? Okay, so I'd like to ask, and Kenzie read my mind here, because we always ask this of our authors, of what is something that you've read recently that you really loved and you recommend to somebody else?
Besides,
The last book that I read was my critique partner's book. So I can tell you guys about it. It's not available yet, but my critique partner wrote a Swan Lake retelling with the love triangle between like a villain sorcerer and an arrogant prince, and it was really, really good. I've recently started a reread though of, this is like a book of my childhood, Philip Pullman's his Dark Materials.
So new book coming out this fall.
Really? What is it?
Serpentine. Yeah, it's in that world.
Cool. Well, that's exciting.
I've been reading Juliette Maurier. She's an adult fantasy author. Some of you might have read her, but she has the Daughter of the Forest series, and she's like classic adult fantasy. And a friend of mine has been bugging me to read her forever, and now I'm totally addicted. And she has a billion books. So I feel like now I'm going down this rabbit hole, but it's been really nice to read something that's not YA. And kind of, I try to jump around in age categories, and I feel like I haven't in a while. And so it's been really nice to read something adult.
Definitely. Okay. So I think this is a good time to ask the sort of wrap up question, which is, what are the things that you are working on coming up? Any projects? Obviously, we've got second and third books in these series that are already, we know about, but anything else you'd like to share?
I am about to start drafting my next duology, which is coming out with Wednesday Books too. It's a Greco-Roman inspired fantasy about a city under siege. And we haven't started talking about it at all, so things are still really under wraps, but I am ready to start drafting it. So that's going to be my focus this fall, is to get that first book drafted.
People like that in the chat, by the way.
I'm excited. I am writing Serpent and Dove 3. I'm drafting it right now. I'm creeping up on my midpoint, so that's exciting. My deadline is October 31st. So can I write half of a book in 2 months? We will see.
While moving.
Yeah, while moving. We'll see.
Do they have any pub date ideas on that yet, Shelby?
They do, but I can't
Sure.
release it yet. We are doing the title reveal this fall though, so.
All right. Well, we will be sure to put that on our social media so that everybody can join in on that. Okay, so unless you guys have other questions you want to address.
I've seen someone ask this question a few times.
Yes, the Magic Elements Systems one. Yeah, okay, both of you have unique magic elements or systems. How did you first come up with that and flesh it out?
Do you want me to go?
Sure.
Okay, so the magic system in Serpent and Dove started out as a soft magic system, which means that like the rules weren't on the page. It just sort of was. The example I use is like in Game of Thrones. Like there aren't like explicit rules. And that worked because in my first draft of Serpent and Dove, it was in third person. So we weren't like inside of Lou and Reed's heads. But yeah, Sanderson's Laws of Magic. Yep, that's exactly it. But when I switched to first person, and I was in Lou's point of view, that obviously didn't work anymore. She would know the rules of magic, right? So my agent and my editor, we went through this very long process of fleshing this system out in revision. So like the basic foundation of it was there in the first draft, but it became a matter of like, well, how does this actually work? Like why did she break her finger? Why the gold, whatever, like, where does the magic come from? Like lots and lots of questions that I would have to sit and think about. So my magic system developed kind of to fit it into what was already there. You know what I mean? Because the rules weren't there in the first draft, and I didn't want to have to. This is super easy button, lazy. Like rewrite the whole thing. So it was a matter of creating rules that fit with what I already had, which was kind of challenging. But I'm really happy with the end product of my magic system.
Mm-hmm.
Adrienne, your magic is a little different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say that I feel like I'm really drawn to magic that has a very blurry line. Like, is it magic or is it superstition? Is it magic or is it religion? Is it magic or is it coincidence? You know, things that can't really be like held, like physically like held and accounted for. And in Sky in the Deep, it's totally like that idea of the gods and like prophetic dreams and things like that are happening. And then with The Girl the Sea Gave Back, it's with the runes and like kind of telling the future and like signs and omens from like the fate spinners. And then with Fable, it's this ability called being a gem sage, where you kind of have this like relationship with gemstones and can like feel them and hear them and whatever, but there's no like playbook. There's no like there can very viably be people in the world who discount or don't believe in the magic. You know, it's not like someone's calling lightning down from the sky. No one can argue with that, you know? So I feel like I'm drawn to that type of magic a lot in story. The magic in my next duology is much more like classic form of magic and storytelling, but thus far it's definitely been kind of that more gray, like undefinable.
Okay, Shelby, did you answer that fully? Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So we got Sophia's question. Thank you. That was one that was on my list that I hadn't gotten to yet. Ladies, this has been a blast. Thank you so much. And to all of these fans, you guys are rocking the chat. Sometimes I have to like beg people to send in their questions, but that was clearly not an issue for you guys, and I am loving it. So thank you so much for participating. Just a reminder to everybody, if you ordered a book, those are going to be shipping out. Give us a couple of days here. We are, we have one person that ships things from our basement, so we're not a robot. We're going to get those books out just as soon as we can. So please be patient, but we will ship them out or have them available for pickup. We'll give you a call when those are ready. If you would absolutely just love to have a copy of the book now that you've heard things, a signed copy, those are still available, and I put the links up in the chat at the top. You can find either of them on our website, andersonsbookshop.com. So support these authors and their great work, and support us. We'd all appreciate that, certainly. I do want to note we do have some other events coming up. I'm going to give you guys an inside scoop. Well, if you haven't already heard, we have V.E. Schwab coming for her new book next month, and that's going to be fantastic. So tickets for that available on our website. And I haven't actually put this on the website yet because it's been insane, but we are getting Tiffany Jackson to come with her new book Grown, which is going to be fantastic. So you're getting a bit of a sneak peek there.
One of my most anticipated books for fall. Yeah.
Yes, we're very excited, and she has a very awesome person, her friend, that she is bringing with as the moderator, who is another fantastic YA author that you all know and love. So I won't tell you the total spill all the beans on that yet, but please do pay attention. We also have several other celebrity events that I can't tell you right now, but are big names. And I know there'll be some fantastic other YA authors that are your celebrities, your book celebrities, coming as well. So please follow us on social media so that you don't miss any of those. Ladies, this has been great. I really appreciate it. Shelby, good luck with your move.
Thank
Adrienne,
you.
and both of you, good luck with your kids in remote learning. We're all dealing with that together. Everybody else, you have a great evening.
Thank
Bye,
you, guys.
Thank you
bye.
for coming.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yes. Brody, if you guys want to video, you can all wave and show your copies. We'll let that up.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Yeah, I totally recognize some people. Hi, friends. Dia.
I saw Dia too. Oh, this is great.
Multiple screens of you guys. This is awesome.
There's Fable.
I'm clicking through. Aw. Yeah, I totally recognize people from Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Those little profile pictures are memorable.
Oh, it's great to see faces. Thanks, guys, for
Leave. Yay.
playing by the rules here. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll let you all go. Bye.
Bye, guys.